Welcome to At Live with Irenia. I'm very excited to bring you this episode today. I'm your host, Irenia Roussel. This podcast was designed for you in mind to inspire and infuse you with the energy you need to take action in your life journey. You'll hear epic stories of people from all walks of life from around the world who are not afraid to share their life journey with you. From epic failures to epic wins, this show will give you some quick hacks and a big boost to help you find your vibes wherever you may be in your life journey. So tune into this dial, relax, and enjoy the vibes. Hi listeners, I don't normally do this. But this episode is definitely one that you want to listen to if you are thinking of rebranding yourself. Monica drops a lot of good golden nuggets in this one in terms of how to really bring out your personal brand. She asks you to think about a number of different questions that's going to help you to find yourself in terms of defining who you are and what your attributes are and what your purpose is. I definitely recommend this one if you are building your personal brand today or even thinking of doing it. All right, let's get this started. Welcome, superstars. Thank you so much for tuning in to this dial. You're listening to At Live with Irenia. I'm very excited to bring you this week's episode. I'm your host, Irenia Roussel. Today, I'm in conversation with the fabulous Monica McCoy, better known as the Peach Queen. She's the CEO of Peach University, and she lives in Atlanta. She's also a global speaker, a business strategist, an executive coach, and consultant. Most recently, Monica was the recipient of the 2019 Startup Atlanta Best Equity Champion. As founder of Monica Motivates, she helps corporate professionals and entrepreneurs transition from being mere spectators of their lives to pursuing their dreams and becoming active participants in having fulfilling, successful, personal, and professional lives. Welcome, Monica, to the show.
Thank you, Irenia. I'm so excited to join you today.
And I'm super excited to have you here with us. It is so wonderful to have you coming in all the way from Atlanta. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you. I'm really excited to join you, and I look forward to really engaging with your audience today and talking about a variety of topics to really help them pivot to their purpose.
Awesome. Well, I know that you're going to share some super golden nuggets, which they're going to appreciate. So let's start with a little bit about your backstory. Let our audience really get to know who you are.
Yeah, so I am really just a person who decided to follow her dream. So I spent 15 years in corporate America. I was a global director of strategy and innovation with the Coca-Cola Company, and decided at the peak of my career that I wanted to come out and help women and underrepresented founders to be able to scale their businesses and to secure funding for their business. So one thing that I would say to each of you is that, especially during this time of our new normal where everyone is adjusting to being still and being in our homes on a regular basis, what I would say to each of you is to really examine what is truly your purpose. What do you want to do with your life? What is your calling? And I would say that whether you are fresh out of college or whether you are a senior C-suite executive at a large organization, just really make sure that you're doing what you truly want to do with your life.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. You're following your dream. And, I couldn't help but notice you did reference the times that we are in. And I do want to acknowledge that it is, uncertain times in terms of COVID-19. A lot of people are social distancing right now. There's a lot of companies who are, pivoting and trying to rethink what their business is going to be doing in these current times. Are they going to adapt and thrive and survive, or, do they pause right now and move forward? So it's really, really awesome that, you're positioned to help a lot of these companies, with some of their development.
Absolutely. And what we're seeing right now is something that is truly unprecedented, where we are all experiencing global change management simultaneously. So whether you are a founder, whether you're a corporate professional, whether you're in college, literally we're all going through this experience at the same time. But what I would say to each of you listening today is that just because we're going through the global change management simultaneously doesn't mean that everyone is adjusting to the new normal at the same rate and at the same pace. So whether you're a founder or a corporate professional, what I really stress to each of you is to be patient with yourself, to really understand that you're doing your best each day, and that even as we're in these challenging times and this new normal, that you really take time to assess where you currently are and to really think about, is this a time for you to pivot with your career, pivot with your business? Or is it a time for you to really just take time to be still and really go deep inside to truly understand what is your new North Star? So for many individuals who are having challenges right now in this new normal, I really stress the importance of not just saying, oh my gosh, it's time for me to completely panic and give up with my dream or give up with my career. Instead, what I want you to do is really make sure that you assess where you're currently going and really just continue to map out what is the new direction to get there. So everyone thinks that success is just a straight path, but anyone who has been in business or been at their career for a while will tell you that there are peaks and there are valleys along the journey. And although this is a challenging time for many of us professionally, this is also a time of great opportunity. And I really challenge each of us to try to see the silver lining in this time instead of just focusing on all of the grim news that we're receiving from the news reports.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, in terms of we're all dealing with this, crisis differently. And I love what you said in terms of folks really assessing where they are. The entrepreneurial journey, it's not only about business, but it is a life journey. And, with everything comes that passion, that soul. Why do you get up and do what you do? And you talked about success, and success is not only in business, it's in life, whether you're a good parent or a good boss or a good neighbor or a good friend.
Yeah.
Because there's neighbors and friends that need us right now, right? To show our resilience in this time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really break down my life into 5 pillars, and they're my 5 F's, where my foundation is my faith. So I wake up each day excited about just being blessed to see another day. But in addition to my faith and my foundation, my family is the next F, where I am just very honored to be married to my husband for 15 years and to have two wonderful kids. And during this time of quarantine, we have gotten so much closer and been able to spend so much quality time together. But, in addition to that, I truly focus on my fitness. So making sure that I'm mentally and physically well. And I challenge you during this time to, limit your screen time and to spend time really making sure that you're doing things that are helping your mental and your physical health to stay strong and positive. And then that's when fortune comes. So my fourth F is fortune. You notice that fortune wasn't number 1, 2, or 3, but fortune was number 4 because, literally I love my business. I love what we do. But if my foundation is cracked, my husband happens to be a builder, and, if he built a home that has a cracked foundation, then that home, no matter how beautiful it is on the outside, is not going to be a home that he can, sell to a potential new homeowner. And so it's the same with these 5 F's, is that, when you get to fortune, if you don't have your faith and your fitness and your family together, then fortune is really a lonely journey. And finally, it's fun. So life is too short not to make sure that we're having fun. And I really stress to each of you right now to think back to your childhood dream and think about that 8-year-old who was so full of joy and who was so full of dreams at the time, and really take time to reflect on what was it that you truly wanted to do with your life. What was it that you were really excited about at 8 and 9 years old? And the reason why I'm challenging you to go through this 5 F's assessment and also to think about your childhood dream is because during our childhood is a time where we truly were our most authentic selves when it came to making decisions based on what we truly wanted to do and not what the world dictated to us to do or how the world defined success for us.
I absolutely agree with you. As kids, we're unfiltered. We absorb a lot of different things. I know as an 8-year-old, what I wanted to be was a journalist. And
wow.
Yeah, and I pivoted, from my island home, Dominica, travel to Canada. I did do my media studies. However, the path that I pursued wasn't a straight path, and I didn't get to journalism. However, I did use a lot of the skill sets that I learned, in university.
Right.
So, of course,
right.
I did some work in international trade, some business development, and now, working in education, and now this podcast, which is just channeling my inner teenager, my inner childlike person.
I love it.
Because I used to have actually a Sunday show called Vibes and Rhythms as a teenager that I worked as a radio host. And
I love it.
Yeah, so this podcast it's just really cool, and it's really awesome, right now in this time to be able to do something like this. So I'm very excited. So I can totally resonate with what you just said. And I love what you talked about, in terms of your 5 F, faith, family, fitness, fortune, and fun. And right now, we gotta have fun because we know with these times how much it's making us look on life and letting us look at what really matters to us, right?
Yes, absolutely. Irene, you couldn't have stated it better. And I think it's just such confirmation about the childhood dream, the fact that you're now doing this amazing podcast, and in your teenage years you had your own radio show. I think that speaks volumes to just that we all have this inner dream and inner purpose within us. So
Yes. So now let's talk about, your career pivots. And we can start from, the beginning.
Yeah, so I will tell you guys that in this season, it's okay to have to pivot. So I'll start, from the beginning. I literally went to college to become a cardiologist. I thought that I wanted to save people's lives by doing heart surgery. And I got to my junior year of university and realized that I had a fear of blood and that it was going to be almost nearly impossible for me to do heart surgery having a fear of people's blood touching me. And so with that, I had to make a decision to do my first pivot, which was a difficult decision because I had dreamed of becoming a cardiologist. I spent so much energy and working towards that dream, and then realized that I was going to have to pivot. And so I pivoted to corporate America. I went from being a pre-med major to psychology. So I just loved, studying people and studying the way that people operated and how their thought process worked. And so it served me well in corporate America as I worked with a variety of global leaders. And what I realized is that each of us has a unique dream or calling. And what I realized is that many of us never explore that dream or calling out of fear of failure. And one of the things that I would really stress to everyone listening today is that if you know that deep down inside there's a dream, there's a purpose that you want to explore, don't let this life pass you by without following that purpose. And the reason that I say that is that from everyone's perspective, in corporate America, when I was at the peak of my career as Global Director of Strategy and Innovation, I appeared to be very happy from the outside. I wore the wonderful suits to work. I always presented well in my meetings. I had a great team. But deep down inside, I realized that I knew there was more to life than what I was doing. And I made the bold choice 3 years ago to resign from everyone's definition of success for me to follow my own dream. And I don't want to, say to everyone that, oh, it's easy to do. It was one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make because I walked away from something that I've been working at for 15 years.
Yeah.
But what I've walked into is a beautiful calling and a beautiful walking into my purpose and waking up each day excited and really feeling fulfilled at the end of the day about the difference that our team is making to change the data one founder at a time via impactful programming, effective curriculum, and a winning ecosystem. So to each of you who know that you can use this time to your advantage to really think about, what do I really want to do with my life? Now is the time to do some deep introspection and really start pivoting to your purpose.
You know what? I absolutely agree with you on that. And it's also a great time, to do some learning and development. There's a famous quote, by Gandhi, like, learn like you're going to live forever and live like you're going to die tomorrow. And I only say that quote because right now, living in these uncertain times, we don't know what we don't know about this COVID-19 virus, right? So it's our opportunity to really, as you said, reassess, reevaluate, look at, what is that dream and where do you want to take it? How do you want to live the next decade of your life, So this is definitely an opportunity. That many people call this the great pause, right? It's a reset.
Yes.
So anyway.
Absolutely. And I would say during this great pause, it's a time to really think about what is your value proposition. Many times we're so focused on our day to day, of making sure that we're there for our family, making sure that we fulfill all of our needs professionally, making sure that we are doing stuff with our friends and doing social activities, that many times we neglect to understand, well, what do I truly offer? What is my true value? Why would someone want to potentially do business with my organization, or why would someone want to promote me to the next level in my corporate career? And when I think of the fact that most of us spend more time planning our vacation than we do when it comes to taking time to really think about what is my true North Star and what is my true vision for my business or for my career, then those are very concerning optics, because at the end of the day, we all have one life to live. And if we would really take advantage of the time that we have right now to truly understand, what is my North Star? What is my value proposition? What problems am I good at solving? What solutions can I naturally bring to the table? What is the impact from a business model perspective? And then finally, who would benefit from this? Like, if we just take time to really address some of those questions, we can truly dig deeper to figure out what is our value proposition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the work, always starts with the individual, right? So maybe we can segue into, what do you think about personal branding?
I think personal branding is so important. I actually wrote a book called Treat Your Brand Like a Fortune 100 Company. And the beautiful thing about branding is that it's not a one and done thing. It's an ongoing process. And what I really stress to everyone is that all of us have a personal brand. Now, whether we like to admit it or not, some of us have neglected our personal brand, while others are staying on top of their personal branding. But wherever you are, one of the things that I want you to start thinking about when it comes to your branding is, who are you as a person? What is your personality type? So each of us have a personality type. There are 16 different personalities. And so whether you are an ENFP or whether you're an INTP, whatever your personality type is, really understand who are you as an authentic person? Because it's once that we really understand our own personal strengths and our own personal opportunities or perceived weaknesses, then we can then build from that to make sure that we have a very strong brand. For example, if you're a person who is very visionary, but you're not a very detailed person, then you have strengths in the fact that you can ideate a lot and have strong visions. But some of your opportunities are that you may miss some of the key steps or actions it's going to take to actually execute that vision and take it to the next level. But in branding, here's the thing. If you would take time to spend just 25% of your year on working on your personal brand. So I'm not asking for you to do this every day, but 1 out of every 4 days, spending some time to really work on your personal brand, what you will see is that by the end of the year, you will have made significant improvement. Because quite frankly, everything that we do communicates. And I want each of us to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. So in addition to knowing your personality type, I want you to make sure that you have a strong and healthy board of directors. And so anyone who has had a successful brand has a strong team around them. And with this board of directors or your inner circle, this team needs to be people who you can really trust and who are not just going to tell you what you want to hear, but instead what you need to hear. And you need to evaluate who are you currently allowing to be surrounded by your brand. Mm-hmm. Who are you currently surrounding your brand with? Are they givers? Are they takers? Or are they matchers? Adam Grant wrote a fabulous book called Give and Take. And what we find is that many times we surround ourselves with people who don't have our best interests at heart. And I really, challenge you to list out the people who you're surrounding yourself with, and then assess: are they givers? Are they takers? Or are they matchers? And if you're seeing that you have primarily matchers and takers that you're surrounding yourself with, it's time to really reassess that inner circle and build a stronger board of directors, and make sure that you have a healthy board who's really going to help you and your brand go to the next level. In addition to that, I want you to turn the mirror on yourself, and I want you to assess: are you a giver? Are you a matcher? Or are you a taker? Because quite frankly, we have enough matchers and takers in the workplace and in the business world. But truly, the people who have long-term success are those who are givers, those who truly want to add value and who want to give back to this world. And what we find is that, literally, the givers aren't out there just trying to intentionally, just say, I am just out here just to give. But because they're walking in their purpose and they know their North Star and they know their value system, they are naturally inclined to add value instead of to take or just to serve only when others are serving them. And the final thing that I would say to each of you as you're working on your brand is to really make sure that you understand where you're going, because so many of us, we're in a stagnant place right now. We haven't picked up a book since high school, and we are wondering why we're not growing. So really assess: what is your mindset? There's basically primarily two types of mindset. There's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. And when you're working on your brand, many of us are going to have to continue to evolve. But if you're operating from a place of, well, it's either pass or fail, Monica, and I don't have the brand I want, and I'm never going to get the brand I want, then you're operating from a fixed mindset, and you're going to have limited growth over the course of your business or the course of your career. But I challenge each of you, especially as we're in this COVID-19 season, is I want you to really assess really transitioning to a growth mindset and getting outside of your comfort zone. Because at the end of the day, quite frankly, you're going to find that if you will say to yourself, I no longer want to stay in that fear zone. I no longer, want to just stay where I'm always feeling stagnant, but instead I want to push myself to that growth zone and that growth mindset. That's where you're going to see explosive growth for your brand, both personally and professionally.
That is absolutely wonderful, Monica. I love all of those great nuggets that you just, described here to our listeners, because it's just, so important for us as individuals to really evaluate our brand, where we are, what we're doing next, because with everything, it starts with a process, right? And
yes.
We go, ready, fire, aim, go. And sometimes we feel like we need to be perfect, but we don't. As long as we know what that North Star is and we know where we're going, then we start, in that new direction, right? And iterate as we go along.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
And there's so many buckets in our lives, right, where we can say that we're successful, whether we're successful with our families, as an employee, as an employer, as a good boss, as a friend, as a mom, as a dad, as a neighbor. there's so many areas where we can be successful. So
Yeah.
bringing us back to, work-life integration, because we're pulled in so many different directions as leaders, right? In when we're working and balancing family, what sort of practices or practical advice that you can give, a young person entering into corporate or entering into entrepreneurship, in terms of how to keep themselves mentally fit, physically fit, and also fit to run the business?
Great question. And first, I would say, just going back to your foundation again, is that you must know your values and you must know yourself. So it is important to understand your value system and what is a non-negotiable for you. And I love speaking to young people because many times, young people are really excited about their first job or their first business venture, and they get into a situation where it's not a good fit for their value system. And I say to everyone listening to this is that you have to really know yourself better than anyone else. You have to get to a point where you truly understand, what are your values? What's your mission? What's your vision? And if stuff does not align with that, you have to make some really tough decisions, because along the way, you're going to be offered opportunities. You're going to be offered, business deals that may sound appealing, but do not align with the vision, strategy, mission, or value system for your organization or for your personal belief system. And you have to be comfortable knowing exactly who you are and not compromising that. I've seen so many leaders who started off as really great leaders who compromised their values for short-term success, which ended up being a loss in the long term. And I would truly just continue to reiterate to each of you today is that you are valuable beyond your wildest imagination. Many times we allow others to define our value to us. We allow others to say, okay, you're worth X amount of dollars per hour. So you come in and you do this job, and this is as much as I'm going to pay you for this. And in this age of the, artificial intelligence revolution, it's so important that you truly understand how valuable you are, not only as a person, but as a leader, but then the value that you bring to your organization or the value that you bring to your business. I think many times many of us settle and say, well, if this is what someone says that I'm worth, then this must be what I'm worth. But I challenge you today to really say, I'm doing amazing things, and my value is much more than what someone is saying that it is. So you have to really assess for yourself and define your own value and know your worth, and realize that if you truly dig deep, and if you truly go deep, and I compare this to thinking about your brain, where we have both a fast brain and a slow brain. If you go beyond your fast brain, you're just making quick decisions day in and day out. But really go to your slow brain, where you're really thinking deeply. You will really understand that you are capable and you are valuable beyond your wildest imagination. And I truly wish that everyone in this world could expose their gift to the world, because if we were able to all walk in our authentic purpose, if we were all able to truly understand our value proposition and know our value, then this world would be full of dreamers and full of people walking in their true purpose. Because according to the latest Gallup poll, upwards of 8 in 10 associates are either highly disengaged or slightly disengaged with their job. And so we want to make sure that we are building our youth and our leaders to understand that it's okay to really follow your authentic purpose and not just settle for what everyone else wants you to do.
I absolutely agree with that. I really love what you said, and that really stuck with me. Listeners, you are valuable, and don't let anybody define your value for you but you. Because at the end of the
Right.
day, you're the one looking at yourself in the mirror when you wake up and say, I'm beautiful, I'm handsome, and I'm going to really rock my day, right?
So I really love that, when individuals really take time to assess and really, follow their true North Star and follow their authentic purpose. Because at the end of the day, we have one life to live, and when we really know our value and really appreciate our value, that's when the world just begins to boom and change, because you start to find people walking in their authentic purpose and really making an impact in this world.
So for that young individual, how do they show up brave and ready to showcase their talents and find their place?
Yeah, I would say that for that young person, you must learn to love yourself. You must learn to not need validation. So in this social media world where everyone is basing their self-worth off of likes, you have to really let go of that, because just as you are looking for the likes, as soon as someone criticizes you, you're going to base your self-worth on the criticism also. So I'd say, really make sure that you understand that just as you are good enough, and you have nothing to prove. But go out there and be boldly and authentically yourself, and go out there and really conquer your dreams. But don't base it off of the want of validation or the want of people to give you likes or to give you kudos. But really take time to encourage yourself, to be your biggest fan and your biggest cheerleader, and have a healthy support network around you. Have healthy friendships. Eliminate toxic friendships. But once you just really get comfortable with knowing that who you are and what you're capable of doing, life gets a lot easier, because you stop looking for people to validate you and to praise you along the way.
In your life, you've impacted many others. Others have impacted you. Can you describe how have mentors played a role in your life personally to get you to where you are today?
I would just say tremendously. No one gets to where we are by ourselves. And I have had some of the most fabulous mentors over the course of my professional career, and now outside as a full-time entrepreneur. And what I really appreciate about my mentors is that they really take time from their schedule to pour into me continually. And they only want me to succeed and learn from their journey. And one of the things that I would say is that, mentors truly are going to push you from your safe zone, and they want you to get to that growth zone, to just really live up to your fullest potential. And I want to just reiterate to each of you to make sure that you surround yourself with a strong inner circle and really, enjoy your mentors. One of my favorite mentors happens to be a former manager of mine, and he literally has taken time, to sit down with me over breakfast, to mentor me, to really give me business advice, to really look at different strategies that I have in place for my organization and give me great feedback on things that I should tweak. And so I would just say, really appreciate your mentors, because they truly have your best interest at heart and really want to see you have long-term success.
I love this. Enjoy and appreciate your mentors. You hear that, folks? Oh, we are getting to that great part, Monica, where I ask you what your superpower is.
I I've had this superpower for as long as I can remember.
Yes.
And literally, even as a little girl, I remember having this superpower. But literally, this superpower is being able to see the potential in others that they cannot recognize in themselves. So I believe that everyone in this world has a gift. I believe that everyone has a unique calling. And every time I meet someone, I'm always just so, inquisitive to understand, what is their gift, what is their calling, what is their dream. And when you start digging deeply, you'll see that many people have dreams, but life has happened. And so I always encourage people to truly not let this life pass you by without following your purpose. At least take a stab at it, just don't end up, at the end of life wondering, gosh, I wish I had tried to follow my dream. Because one of the top 5 regrets that people have, when they are in their final moments of life and when they're on their deathbed, is not taking the time to truly follow their dream and to live the life that they authentically wanted to live, but living someone else's life. And I really want each of us to not settle. And once again, during this time where we are all in this global change management cycle and being forced to be still, this is truly a great time to go deep inside and really bring that dream and that purpose back to the forefront.
That is absolutely powerful. Do not let this life pass you by without taking a stab at your dream. I love it, Monica. Thank you. There's so much mic drops in this episode. Oh my goodness. I need some of that for myself.
Oh, I love it.
So in terms of some of the current projects that you have that's really firing you up right now, getting you really excited, what is it?
Yeah, I would say there are 3 main projects. So one is our Pitch University curriculum, where we're teaching corporate professionals, how to understand their value proposition and positioning themselves, for their next promotion, or for positioning themselves to really gain funding for a critical project in their organization. And the flip side of that is where we teach entrepreneurs, how to access funding for their businesses, specifically women and underrepresented founders. So we know that only 2.7% of female startups received funding. So of the $136.5 billion of VC funding that was available last year, only about 2.7% went to female founders. And so our team is really dedicated to closing that gap and really, making sure that they understand how they can take their business to the next level strategically by building strategic partnerships and also securing funding. The second aspect would be our Global Supplier Diversity Conference. So we are excited about our conference that's going to be held on September 24th. And we are looking forward to really teaching a strategic framework for entrepreneurs to be able to identify, prepare, and secure corporate contracts, and while also making sure that we help open those doors for them to connect to those opportunities. And then finally, we are so excited about our Pivot to Your Purpose speaker series, virtual speaker series that we are launching today. So we are going to have speakers who are from all different backgrounds, speaking on a variety of topics, from a pro golfer who's going to speak to us about mindset, to a chief data and analytics officer for a Fortune 50 company who's going to talk to us about making decisions that are based in data and not just, making decisions that are just based on, what you think is the best thing to do, but really grounding those decisions also in data. So Pivot to Your Purpose is going to be something that's valuable for whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a corporate employee, whether you're someone who was recently laid off from your job and you're looking about thinking about what do you do next, join us on this Pivot to Your Purpose series. It will be kicking that off on April 30th, and we're really excited about all the great momentum that's going to come from this series.
So is your target audience limited to Atlanta, or is that an open forum?
It is open to anyone across the globe because we're going to be doing all of these series virtually. So anyone who has access to a computer or smartphone, you are welcome to join us. We will be posting all the details. You can find it on monicamotivates.com. And literally, we welcome you to register for this global virtual free event that can really be game-changing for you from both the career perspective, but also from a personal development and mindset perspective. And it's critical that, we succeed at our professional goals, but during this time, it's also very critical that we focus on our mental well-being.
That is absolutely awesome. I'll make sure as well that is in the show notes in terms of monicamotivates.com and put a reference to Pivot with Purpose virtual event. And it's really cool that, you're also doing the Global Supplier Diversity Conference, which is coming up. So you're offering some really awesome services, and I really love it. And
thank you.
You're welcome. So your work, how do you see it impacting the next generation and, your community? And to you, I see you not only have a local, but you have a global community as well.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing, and I'll repeat this to your audience, is that, I literally realized that each of us have a purpose and a calling, and all of us are going to have to put our pebbles in the ocean and in the river to really make a difference. And so one of the pebbles that I've put in the water is to really help to make it more equitable for women and underrepresented founders to secure funding for their businesses, because I really want the future generation of not only my kids but my friends' kids and just the entire global community to be able to not only follow their dreams, but to also gain access to the capital to make it happen. And we know that 0.4% of VC funding went to African American female founders last year. And we want to make sure that everyone has an equal chance at really securing the funding to be able to truly follow their North Star. Because when everyone is walking in their purpose and following their North Star, then we really get to witness the best of humanity, and we truly see the impact of all of us being better together.
I love it. That is so fantastic, in terms of you're facilitating and empowering individuals to follow their dream and as well gain that access to the funding, which most of the time, leave people grounded rather than them, taking flight on their journey.
Yeah.
Right? So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So let's head into the rapid fire questions. What are some of your morning rituals to get you, to put a pep in your step for the day?
Absolutely. So I start each day with prayer with God. I am a very faith-based person, and also just expressing gratitude. So no matter what's going on in my life, there's always something to be grateful for. And I truly tell people, enjoy each precious moment.
That's wonderful. And in terms of your evening, what do you do to wind down for the day? And I know that we are in special times right now with COVID, but maybe talk about what you did before COVID, because,
Yeah. Yeah, before COVID, I used to go and run at the park. I do a 2 to 3 mile run or walk at the park. And now I've transitioned that to more of a 1 to 2 mile walk just around my neighborhood. So Unfortunately, all the parks are closed right now, so I just do a walk with my dog around the neighborhood. But also, what is really nice is that I used to try to have intentionally 2 to 3 dinners a week with my family, or we would sit down at the dinner table because of all the soccer schedules and work schedules. We would average 2 to 3 times. So what's been really beautiful about this time of COVID is that I'm able to sit down to have dinner with my family every night, and then end my evening with reading a great book. So 2 books that I'm currently enjoying rereading are The Alchemist and Mindset. So 2 great books that I highly recommend.
That is awesome. Who are the authors for those books?
Yeah, so Carol Dweck is the author for The Alchemist, and I always spell Paulo's name, or pronounce his name incorrectly, but Paulo Coelho is the author for The Alchemist. But just look up The Alchemist. He's a phenomenal Brazilian author, and his it's Paulo, and last name is Coelho.
Okay. I will check it out. You hear that, listeners? You should too.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we all know, a mood changer, something that changes our physiology, gives us some really super energies music. What's your last song on your, mobile that you keep playing on repeat?
Yeah, so I would highly recommend that you Google Imagine, that is sang by Dr. Fran Qua with the Mayo Clinic. And literally, he is, in this time of really appreciating our first health responders, it's just amazing to hear this song. So just, Google Mayo Clinic, Dr. singing Imagine. It is such a beautiful rendition. And I think during this time, all of us can appreciate the beauty of that song.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much, Monica. You've provided so many great nuggets, around branding and knowing your purpose and repositioning oneself and understanding one's value. And I could go on, but to you, my listeners, you gotta do this again on replay because it's so good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I would love to incorporate you into my show. If you're facing a challenge, if you want to give a shout out, please email me info@livewithirenia@gmail.com. All one word, info@livewithirenia@gmail.com. If it fits with the program, I will definitely incorporate it. If you're sending a shout out, I would certainly love that. If you found value in the show, please share it with a friend. It's important that we share this knowledge and spread it all across the world. After all, we are in this life journey together. Please do subscribe to this podcast so that you can know when a new episode's drop. Please head on over to iTunes, give us a review, let me know how great you think the show is, and give me some feedback on an episode that has changed the trajectory of your life or has impacted you in some small way. If you want to connect with me on social, head on over to Twitter and Instagram. My handle is @livewithirenia. This podcast was produced by me in my home studio, including all brand elements. Listeners, until our next episode, walk into your day with positive vibes. My hope for you is that you find your vibe wherever you may be in your life journey. I'm your host, Irene Roussel.